What's up, everybody? My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. We have a special Saturday edition of Movie Swap. And today, my guest is one of the younger members in our community. And I'm happy to have him here. And this is Mike of Movies and Trains Studios. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on, Dell. Hoping to have a good time. So yeah,
All right, cool, cool. And I did mention that you are one of the younger members in the community, and as such, I'm just curious what got you into collecting and into movies at such a young age.
so I remember, way back when I was younger, I used to have like this little camcorder that I used to use constantly. No matter what I would do, I would always use it to document stuff, and I was fascinated by how the cameras worked. So then, watching movies, then that fascinated me because of how well they're made and such. Um, so yeah, I've always been a fan of movies. They've always fascinated me, and as of recently, I've expanded like my movie collection. I think I've crossed over like 1,500 movies or something like that. But this is also including DVDs that I've had for a long time, so you never know. Um, kind of just
DVDs?
a big mix, kind of just a big mix of everything. So, yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
DVDs definitely count.
Yep. I mean, I've been collecting. I think mainly collecting for about 4 years. Like before that, I've been like off and on, just trying to get like little things that I saw in theaters and stuff like that. But yep. That's really
Okay,
how I kind of got into collecting and movies and such.
that's pretty impressive because at your we discussed age backstage, and like I said, I won't reveal that, and I'll let you do that whenever you're comfortable. But at that
Yeah.
age, I was collecting. I was collecting comic books, and this was a really long time ago. They were really cheap, so less than a
Yeah.
dollar a comic book. Um, I didn't get into collecting movies until well into adulthood, and that you have 1,500, which is very honestly not many more short than me. So
Wow.
that is impressive. Um, so is it so? Okay, let me go this way then. For your collection, are you what kind of collector are you? Are you one that's your? I know you said you started off just getting stuff you saw in theaters. So do you have
Yeah.
certain genres that you collect more of, or you just like certain types of movies, or you just a little bit of everything?
Honestly, it's a little bit of everything because there's a lot of movies that I own that I've seen in the past that I've either wanted to watch again, that's just been on my mind recently, or they're just ones that I've been wanting to watch for like a long time, just never got around to it. So I ended up buying them for a decent price, just blind buying them and such. And it's really like any sort of movies. Like I could probably pull out like 100 horror movies, 100 action movies, 100 comedies off of just this little shelf over here that I've collected over the years. So it's kind of just like all over the place when it comes to my collecting. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Now I've been watching your channel a little bit here, a little more recently because I knew this was coming up. So I watched a little more of your
Right.
channel. So now I'm kind of wanting to put you on the spot a little bit. So one of the things that I watched recently was your Spider-Man ranking videos.
Yep.
So now the thing I want to put you on the spot about is Spider-Man 2,
Uh-oh.
the
Spider-Man
Total
2.
Tobey Maguire. So now for
Spider-Man 2.
most of us, it is either in the number one spot or certainly in the top three spots as far as Spider-Man movies goes. And I did my own ranking last year, and it was up there for me.
Hmm.
Now I'm gonna give you a chance. Go ahead and tell why it's not in that area for you.
All right. Look, that's the one movie that I haven't watched in 5 plus years out of the entire Spider-Man series. So
Okay.
it's not fresh thoughts for me. But I remember not liking the fact that Spider-Man just loses his powers because he's a little bummed out. Like that's
Okay.
the one thing that's a little bit bugged to me. No pun intended.
Mhm.
um, But yeah, that's the one thing that kind of bugs me about the movie. But other than that, it's a great movie. Just
Okay.
not quite up there like a lot of people say it is. I still love it though. It's a great movie.
I'm curious. You say you hadn't watched it in so long. I'm curious that if you watched it again, if your mind would change, either for the better or the worse, because over time, as we get older, our views on some movies just change. So
Yeah,
I'm curious if that's the case, if
yeah,
that would happen.
it probably would. I'm not gonna lie. Even though like even just thinking about it more, it's gone up in terms of like my rankings and such. But like I don't know, it's just never been the one Spider-Man movie that I've like resonated the most with. But
Mhm.
maybe it's like you said, since I'm older, giving it another shot could help. Yeah,
Right, and now,
I've gotten back and watched the other two movies in the franchise like a lot though,
okay,
for more reasons than just one. But regardless of that, yeah, Spider-Man 2 has just kind of been a gap for me. I'm not really sure why.
okay. I will say this though. Now, even just saying what I just said, don't feel pressure to think it's great when you do watch it again. I mean, if either it works for you or it doesn't work for you as much, it's that's always
Yeah.
totally up to you. All right. So let's take a look and see who's out there hanging out with us this afternoon on a special Saturday, because we usually do these on like a Tuesday night, sometimes a Monday or a Wednesday. Adrian is here and he says, hey there, Dell. Thank you very much.
What
The
is up?
monkey is here. Monkey says, welcome to the club. We really need to make jackets, Dell. Two questions for your guest. Favorite Disney remake, and do you own it in your physical media collection? Hmm.
Okay. Um, I think it's a pretty common answer, but I'm gonna say the Aladdin remake because it kind of
Okay.
does its own thing with the source material, and I do own it, but I'm not quite sure where it's at right now.
Okay. No, well, you don't have to get it. You own it.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
perfectly fine. So you were good with Will Smith as the genie as opposed to Robin Williams.
I mean, he's not. I mean, he's not anything compared to Robin Williams. Like Robin Williams, he's a great actor. Rest in peace, of course. Um, but I feel like Will Smith kind of just took the genie character and did his own thing, and I really appreciated that about it. So, better or worse, I can't really decide. But I thought he was still pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. I mean, I don't really say he's better or worse than Robin Williams, just different, and I like what they both
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
we,
Yeah.
yeah. Emmett is also here in the building, and Emmett he just says, "What's up? What's going on, Emmett?" I'm sure he has a question coming up because he usually does, and he does. He asks me, who's my favorite Spider-Man?" If we're talking about the actors, honestly, Tom Holland's my favorite of the actors that have played Spider-Man, because I feel like Tobey Maguire was a really good Peter Parker, and Andrew Garfield was a really good Spider-Man, but they were both weak on the other side of it, whatever it was. And I feel like Tom Holland is the best balance of both, and he seems most like the Peter Parker that I think of when I think of the character. Do you have a favorite?
Um, it might just be a nostalgia's sake, but I'm gonna say Toby Maguire. He was honestly like the highlight of No Way Home for me. I've always gone back to watch that original movie. Like I said, I haven't gone back to watch Spider-Man 2 in years, so I don't know. Things could change, but I mean, I've never been huge on Tom Holland. I've got to be honest. I mean, I really
Mhm.
like Homecoming. I think he did a decent job in that one. Um, but other than that, I didn't think that the directing and writing for his version of Spider-Man were the best.
Okay.
But yeah,
That leads me to this. Then you mentioned No Way Home. What did you think of Andrew Garfield in No Way Home? Because for me, he kind of stole the show, and I do not really like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Well, the first one was
yeah.
okay. The second one I hate. So, but I thought he stole the show in No Way Home. What'd you think of him?
So before I get to No Way Home, I'd like to say I'm mixed on the Amazing Spider-Man movies at best. I would say
Mhm.
I the first one, there's things that I like about it. I mean, specifically, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. I think that relationship is really great. Um, the second one, kind of the same thing. If they kind of had, more of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, that would have been like perfect movie. And it was, if it wasn't actually Spider Man, that would be like a perfect romance movie. But there's the weird stuff, the actual Spider-Man stuff. I'm not a huge fan of in those two movies. Like the first one, I can't stand the character of the lizard. That character stinks. And then Spider-Man 2, kind of the same thing. Electro is goofy. Like the fact that like when he gets electrocuted, his teeth get straightened out and everything. Like that's so goofy. And then the new Goblin. I don't know, but
I'm with you. I don't like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 at all. But go ahead. I'll continue.
yeah. But No Way Home, I think, because we didn't get really a whole lot of closure for Andrew Garfield's Spider Man, I think they did him justice in No Way Home. I mean, I've always said that I'm not crazy about No Way Home as a whole, but the last 45 minutes are fantastic. Like that's what saves the movie for me. But yeah,
Okay.
I think Andrew's like definitely a highlight of No Way Home. So, yep.
All right. The monkey. He says losing a parent hits home even to mere mortals. It hits you in ways you never knew. Also, he almost lost MJ to an astronaut. Aunt May almost lost her house. So yeah, he's
Yeah. Spider-Man 2.
Cody. Yep, Spider-Man 2. Cody's here, the dude who loves movies. What's going on, Cody? He says, "What's up, everyone? Don't forget to roundhouse kick that like button." Thank you, Cody, for giving
Absolutely.
me the boost I always look for. Adrian's just saying hey to Cody. We got some haze going back and forth. Oh, Dimension is in the building. He says, "Hey, what's going on, Dimension?" Dimension is a guy who more people should be watching. He has an awesome channel, and he
Yeah,
has some
good stuff.
he has some interesting views on movies as well. Him and I don't always see eye to eye on it, which honestly for me makes it more fun to watch because it's
Yeah.
kind of curious to see what he's going to say about a movie. And had him as a guest once before. Adrian saying, "Hey, Dimension, just we got some love going back and forth." And Adrian here is saying that I prefer Spider-Man 3 over the two Garfield movies. Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm not a big fan of Spider-Man 3. I know you are a big fan of that one.
Yeah, I it's nostalgia. I've seen it a lot, so yeah, that one I'd say is better than both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move off of Spider Man and let's go ahead and get to the movies that we are actually here to talk about today. We got a couple of big ones, I think, honestly. Movie
Yeah.
that both, well, I'm not sure about the movie that you're going to introduce, but I think that got some Oscar love. I know the other movie got plenty of Oscar love. So
Oh,
let's
for
go ahead
sure,
and
yeah.
talk. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the movie that you had me watch. I'm going to give you the big screen here and just tell
Alrighty.
us about it.
All right. So, I gave Dell this big list of movies that I think are great for the most part, and he chose to watch what is it? Brian De Palma's Blowout. Trying to think of the director's name, but yeah, Brian De Palma's Blowout. I watched this one for the first time, I think, last year. It's almost been a year, I think, since I've seen this one, and I thought it was really cool. It was a really cool look into Hollywood and some of the corruptness in Hollywood, and kind of the process of making a film. And basically, it's about John Travolta's character, who, yes, John Travolta is in the movie. He is a sound design worker for Hollywood, and while one night while he's outside in like the park or whatever recording like crickets and birds like just in the night, he witnesses a car crash, and so he goes to save this woman that's in the car, and he ends up going down this deep rabbit hole, this deep rabbit trail of mysteries and chaos and so forth, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it's a great movie personally, so that's why I had it on my list of movies for Dell to check out.
All right. So Blowout. I've been hearing about this movie for a while now in the Blue Tuberverse. I mean, before I got into YouTubers, I had kind of heard of it, but not really a whole lot. And then I started watching all these YouTubers. And one of the ones I watch a lot, one of the people I watch a lot is James of 20th and 21st. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with James. He's a
Yeah, I
huge
am.
cartoon, and yeah, and Blowout is like one of his favorite movies. So he talks about this movie all the time. And I actually told him when he was on this show, I was so shocked that he didn't suggest that I watch Blowout. But here you suggested it, so I had to watch it. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first turned the movie on, I thought I put the wrong movie on
Oh,
because yeah, I streamed it. I don't own it. I streamed it, and when it starts off, it's a slasher movie happening, and I
right.
didn't realize
Yeah.
what was going on. I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, wait a minute, did I put the wrong thing on? Isn't this supposed to be John Travolta? What's happening here? But then after a couple minutes, we find out, yeah, he's doing sound on the movie that they're showing a movie that he's working on. So I thought that was a really cool intro, one that I wasn't expecting. And like you said, he goes out in the night and he's just recording because the guy he's working for, his boss, is like, you keep using the same sounds over and over and over. You don't even have a good scream for me because that's the big problem with the movie that they're working on that they're showing is that the girl who screams, her scream is terrible. And he's
Yeah.
like, you really got to go out and do stuff. So that's why he's out there trying to get those sounds, and he captures this car accident. Like I say, he goes down, he goes to rescue this girl. So Nancy Allen, who is in RoboCop, for anybody who's not familiar with her, she is the girl. She plays the girl, and she is. We find out more and more about her character as it goes on. But when we meet her, she's kind of this, almost flighty kind of girl, and doesn't really seem to be thinking all that clearly. But I will say it took a while for me to get into her performance. What did you think of her performance in the movie?
I thought she was pretty solid. I mean, like you said, it takes a little bit to get into her character, but I thought like after a while she was actually quite good in the movie. But yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
okay, because
like you said, it just takes a second, but yeah, it definitely gets to the
yeah,
point.
I'm used to seeing her. I've seen RoboCop. I don't know how many times, maybe a dozen times or more. And the voice she's using in this movie, she's trying to kind of put on that baby doll kind of voice, and I was like, who? What is she doing? Why is she doing this?
Right,
After,
right.
yeah, after a while, I kind of was okay with it, and that was cool. Um, and John Travolta, of course, he's John Travolta. He's is what he is. He's giving you that kind of persona. There's not many times when I thought John Travolta was like a super great actor in a movie. So I won't say he was here, but he fit the movie really well. And I thought the surrounding characters really kind of did a really good job of helping the movie move along. How'd you feel about either Travolta or the other actors in the film?
I think John Travolta, he's been always like just this big name in Hollywood that's had so many like different like coming ups in Hollywood, like his ups and downs. Like he started in Grease and then trickled down out of Hollywood and then came back with Pulp Fiction and then started trickling down again. Like he's just had like such a great story in Hollywood and such an interesting story as well. I just think he's a fascinating dude. And he's really good in this one. I'd say this is definitely one of his better performances, um, and one of his better movies. I'd say as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'd say the whole cast as well is well fit for the movie as well. So yeah,
Yeah, they were definitely well written side characters, especially later on we get the TV guy, the guy from the TV show who's trying to get involved and um trying to get Travolta's character to come on the show and trying to get Nancy Allen's character to come on the show. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names of characters, especially in movies I haven't seen 100 times. So I always refer to them by the actors' names. But I thought he was a really, really good character. And then one person who I was not expecting to see because I hadn't heard that he was actually in the movie, and that was John Lithgow. Um, he was, without spoiling it because it's not really a secret or anything, but he's our bad guy. He's the villain.
Yeah.
Or one of them anyway. Do you think he made a good villain? I've seen him in a couple other things as a villain. Do you think he made a good villain?
Yeah, I thought he was a really fascinating villain. Honestly, I mean, he's not like a super deep character, but really not really any of these characters are. So I think he's a really interesting persona, and John Lithgow's just a classic actor, so he did a great job.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I thought he made a pretty frightening character here. Even though, like you said, he's
Yeah,
not really a deep character, but he understood the assignment, as they say. He knew what to do in
for
this
sure, for
movie.
sure.
All right, we have a few people who are still out there. Just want to, and we acknowledge a couple of people who popped in. We have Caprice dropped in from Draculina Horror, aka Draculina Horror. Hey, she says hello, my darlings. As she does, I can't say anything like she does, so I won't even attempt it. But thanks for coming on. And the monkey had another comment. He says, "I love Blowout. When I saw it for the first time, I had just got done watching The Killer on Third Rock from the Sun. That's a John Lithgow show. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that show or not."
Third Rock, Third Rock from the Sun. I used to watch that one all the time when I got home from school back in the day. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yep,
Mika
fun
is
show.
here. She says, "Hi, everyone." It was
What's
a
up,
fun one.
Mika?
I didn't watch it a lot. I watched it a few times here and there, but it was a fun show from what I saw. Caprice, hello, my love. She's talking to Mika, and Caprice just has a certain way about her. I can hear it in my head, but like I said, I can't do it. But it's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Adrian, he's just saying hi, and we got some more highs, and I'm just looking down to see if anybody else has popped in or if anybody has anything to say about the movie. And Spicy 4K just popped in. He says hello and happy Saturday. And he was just on live himself. If he's, I'm assuming he's done now that he's popped in over here. And we had
right.
to some fan of Blowout. Mika says Blowout is a great film. All right,
Absolutely.
so okay. Well, let's get back to it. One of the things that uh, kind of kind of took me out of the movie. And okay, let me do this. Not took me out of the movie, but one of the things I had a little bit of trouble with was the very end, and we're talking after the main story has been wrapped up, and we got just a couple of more minutes. So just those last couple of scenes of Travolta, and I'm gonna try not to spoil it here, but it felt really morbid and like something that he wouldn't do. And I understand why he did it. I understand what he did with, at the end of the movie. I understand what he did it for, where he used it, but I don't think that's something that he would have really done. And it felt a little too morbid for me. I don't know. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
Um, I feel like yeah, some of the ending takes me out of the movie a little bit just because of confusion. Um, like there's some bits to it that I was a little bit confused by, like a who's who sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so the ending is a little bit morbid. Yeah, it's definitely one that leaves you to your curiosity. But I do enjoy that sort of ending to a movie. But
Hmm.
this isn't like a particularly great one. I got to be honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, that was my big thing. When the movie ended, I was like, "Is that's what you do with that?" No, I
yeah,
wouldn't hear that like ever again in life. But it is what it is at that point. Other than that, uh, I would say the good thing, Brian De Palma, the director, you mentioned him. He was really the other star of the movie for me. And the way, of course, it's a movie about sound, so you have to utilize sound design. I thought he did that really well. Um, all throughout the movie, even when we get the scene of Travolta talking on the phone, and then we kind of pan down and we see Lithgow's character listening in on the other end. I thought that was really well done and just kind of completes that whole cycle of sound that we got going through this whole movie. Were there any other things about De Palma's direction that you noticed, or
Um, I think you hit the nail on the coffin there. Like, yeah, his direction in this one is great. I mean, he's a classic director. I mean, he directed probably I think the very first Stephen King adaptation to a movie, in Carrie, of course, and then
Mhm.
he did like the first Mission Impossible movie. He's a great director because he makes those movies from his direction. And Blowout's just kind of like another scenario where he definitely directs the hell out of the movie. So
Yeah, he does. He does. And he's directed some of my favorite movies. I'm a big fan of Carrie. I really like Scarface is another one I really like,
I've
and
actually
we
never
talk
seen Scarface.
a really good movie.
Yeah, I wanted to check it out soon. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and you mentioned Mission Impossible, and yeah, he's got some great movies under his belt. So, uh, yeah, he's an awesome director.
for
We're
sure.
gonna go back into the chat one more time, then I will give my final thoughts on Blowout. And Mika saying this is one of my favorites from Travolta.
Yeah,
The Monkey, I think it would have been fitting if the soundtrack disc of Blowout came blank. That's interesting. Piss a lot of people off, but
yeah. I mean, if they sold it for like a decent price, but like a
yeah,
blank vinyl or something like that, that would be kind of neat. But
yeah, yeah. Blank vinyl would be interesting, but I think you would put it in with as a freebie with the movie at
yeah,
that point.
yeah,
Yeah. Now that speaking of the music, I almost forgot to mention that is one other thing that I didn't really care for much in this movie was the score. Yeah, I thought it was kind of goofy sounding along the way. And am I off base here? Did you
yeah.
like the score?
I mean, it's I didn't rewatch it before this, but I do remember
Okay.
thinking the score was like decent for the time. But yeah, I thought it was pretty solid for like an '80s
Okay.
movie. It was pretty solid.
No problem. Spicy. Never seen Blowout, but keep hearing good things. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hadn't seen
check
it
it out.
before now too. Adrian saying hey. And here we got Brian De Palma has a great filmography. He does.
For sure.
At after a certain point, it kind of goes a little bit downhill, but that happens to just about everybody.
Every last one.
Yeah, and I want to grab that Criterion 4K of the film. So I didn't because, and that's what is that is the 4K you were holding up
This
earlier.
is just the Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
I think at the time this is just like the Blu-ray was just out, not the 4K. But I'm not sure if I would have grabbed the 4K because I don't think the 4K is entirely necessary for the movie. Besides maybe the audio mix, but I don't have like a big speaker system for my TV, so I mean I have like a sound bar and like a subwoofer, and that's about it. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. I I don't like I said, obviously I don't have it. So I was thinking about that while I was watching it. Is do I want to get the 4K of this? Do I want to go ahead and get it? It's one that I might get it, but I'm not really pressed to like I have a rush out and get the 4K of it. Blu-ray might be fine because everything I could really get out of this movie really is sound, not visually. I mean,
yeah.
visually it
This
does.
Blu-ray only has like a 2.0 mix, but it is surprisingly solid. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Cool. I am going to give my final thoughts on this movie, and then we'll put it to bed. So, first time watching Blowout. Uh, some of the things I'm just going to repeat what I already said. I thought Brian De Palma did a stellar job with his direction of the movie, with the choices of the movies. The pacing went along pretty good. It didn't lag for me. The story works well enough, especially when you contain it to Travolta's character, and Nancy Allen's character together, trying to escape the things that they're trying to escape or figure out what they're trying to figure out. Thought that worked really well. Uh, I thought the performances of those two people weren't great, but they weren't bad at all. I mean, they were both pretty good. Like I said, it took me a bit to get into Nancy Allen, but once you get used to it, it's fine. I thought the side characters or secondary characters were better, especially John Lithgow and, like I said, the gentleman who played the news reporter, but I can't think of his name offhand. Um, but all in all, though, yes, I did really enjoy the movie when it was said and done. So I am calling that a win for you, sir. I really
All right.
do, really did like Blowout. So I'm glad that I can finally check that one off my list. I'm sure after the stream is over, I'm gonna either DM James or go on his channel and say, "I watched Blowout. You gotta come watch this stream now." But I'm sure today it's Georgia football for him today. So
Yep.
I'm not expecting to see him. Let's switch back and see if anybody else had anything to say before we change over to the other movie. The Monkey says Brian De Palma did another great film with John Lithgow in Raising Cain. I haven't seen Raising Cain.
Oh, sorry, you lagged out for a second. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you? They said another great film with John Lithgow and Brian De Palma was Raising Cain. Did you see that one?
I have not. No, I actually I don't know if I've heard of that one or not. Let me just
Yeah,
double
I've
check.
heard of it. I've never seen it though, so I will have to put that on the list and check it out one of these days.
Raising Cain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think I've
Looking it
ever
up.
heard of this movie. Yeah,
What year was that?
1992. It looks like.
92. Okay. So that was I'm trying to think of what else he was making around that time. All
Sounds
right,
like
and
right before Mission Impossible, I believe.
there you go.
Yeah,
Amazing Mission Impossible's been going so long.
yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, and Mika just reiterating what I say. Yes, this is one of James' favorite films. Um, all right, so let's move on to the other movie, and the movie that I had you watch is a western. Westerns are popping back up. They've been popular on the channel lately. Um, this one is one that is the favorite of a lot of people. It showed up on a lot of people's top 25 of the 90s list when Tim Talks Talkies did that. There's also a lot of people have it as one of their favorite Clint Eastwood movies of all time, and he's got lots of westerns, but only one really in the 90s, and
Mm.
that movie is Unforgiven. I'm going to give myself a little spotlight there just so you can all see that we have Unforgiven here. And in this film, he plays a character named William Money, and he is a notorious gunfighter, or not a notorious gunfighter. He's a notorious killer. He's known to have killed anybody who crossed his path, or anybody who's somebody willing to pay to get killed, women and children included. And he also had a wife, though, that brought out the good in him, that he says, and she died about a decade before the movie starts. She passed away. He's just kind of living alone on this little farm with his son and having some hard financial times. But as it turns out, in another town a little ways away, there's a gentleman who was seeing was in a saloon, one of those old Western style saloons that has a brothel upstairs and all this, and he basically cut the face of a lady several times. He just cut her up really bad, and the ladies got together and they hired assassins to come kill the guy who did it, and Clint Eastwood's character was not hired, but it's not even an assassin. They kind of put a bounty out there. Whoever could kill him will get this money. And we meet a guy by the name of the Schofield Kid, young guy. He comes to try to recruit Eastwood and says, "Hey, I'm gonna go kill him. And you want to help me out, and we can make some money. You're a legend at this." He passes, but financial times being what they are, he decides that he's going to go and try to make the money himself with the help of his friend, who is played by Morgan Freeman, and they set off to go try to kill this guy. They meet up with the Schofield Kid, so it's now a trio of them riding into town. The big obstacle in the way is that the town is run by Little Bill. Not, is it Little Bill? Yeah, Little Bill
Yeah,
played
a little bit.
played by Gene Hackman. And Gene Hackman, he's the sheriff of the town, and anybody who comes in town with a gun, he is on them, and he's like, give me the gun, or you're gonna spend the night in jail after I beat the crap out of you. So, and we meet a character early on that happens too. So that's pretty much it for the setup of the movie. Your first time watching, how was that opening for you? For well, including the opening text we get, and then the scene with the guy and the girls.
I thought the opening text was pretty interesting. It was a cool setup, and then the opening scene is just pretty horrific. I wasn't expecting that from the opening because I kind of went into this one blind, but yeah, I did not expect pretty like that graphic of an opening scene. Um, but yeah, the opening, the setup for the movie, very interesting stuff. The characters, Clint Eastwood's character is very interesting. Star-studded cast. I mean, who you got? Like Gene Hackman, Clint Eastwood, of course. Morgan Freeman. Who's this? The Schofield kid.
Um,
Um,
I can tell you
James Woolvid. I don't know that guy actually. And then Richard Harris is in there as well. I remember that. But yeah, I mean it's a great cast, of course. Great actors in that one. Story, like I said, it's very interesting for a western. I don't think I've really seen a whole lot of movies that tackle like that serious of a subject matter with the story that they chose. Um, but yeah, very very cool stuff. Honestly, um, yeah, I'm kind of running out of stuff to say about it. Honestly,
oh, that's fine. That's fine. So
yeah,
the characters are all very interesting. One of the things in rewatching it, because I did rewatch it for this. One of the things that I always forget about this movie, because you think about that story, that serious subject matter that you brought up. So whenever somebody says Unforgiven, that's the first thing I think of, and I always forget that this movie is actually also funny, at least in my opinion. Did you find a
yeah. I mean,
good
it's
deal of
it's
humor in it?
dark humor for sure, but it is relatively funny in bits. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I was surprised. Always get surprised by that. And I don't know why, because I've seen this movie three, four, five
Yeah.
times. But every time it's like, oh man, I keep forgetting that this movie's actually kind of funny. Um, we meet a guy named English Bob on a train headed into this town. And he has this whole scene where he's kind of threatening the other guys on the train, and then he gets into a shooting competition with them out on the back of the train. What do you think of all that? How do you think that played into things?
I thought it was very interesting. Uh, the action sequences on this one are very well shot, honestly, and that was probably one of the highlight sequences of the movie. Um, so yeah, I think English Bob was a pretty interesting character as well. Honestly, Richard Harris he's a great actor, pretty famous as well. Um, I thought he did a good job for that one.
Oh yeah, I thought he was pretty awesome. And then of course the scene when he gets to town and Jane Hackman, comes up on him and introduces himself to us in the audience. But him and English Bob know each other pretty well. I thought that was an amazing scene.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
taking English Bob into custody. Um, the overall the Schofield kid. What did you think of him? And the actor's name, by the way, is James, spelled Jimz, Wolvet. And I'm clicking on his name on another page here, trying to see some of the things that he's been in. And he was in, of course, this Dead Presidents, Rosewood, the three movies that I saw of his. Um, Nothing else that I really know about. A lot of low budget stuff. But what did you think of his character and performance?
Um, I thought he was very good, even though I don't think I've seen any other movies that he's been in. Um, that's not a name that I recognize either. So, for
Mm-mm.
someone kind of like a no name to me personally. I thought he was good. The character was well written, and I thought by the end as well, it was kind of interesting how they used his character because he's like not actually who he lets himself off to be, which I think is pretty cool.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah, he's definitely the way they make him do it. I thought was really good because you can kind of tell, but you're not really sure, and
yeah,
until we figure out that he can't do something that you kind of need to be what he wants to be. And
yeah.
yeah, that was always really interesting to me. And another interesting dynamic to me was his character's relationship to Eastwood's character, to William Money. And I thought the two of them kind of played off each other pretty well. Um, well, really, the three of them with Morgan Freeman's character also, because they had a really interesting scene, a couple of interesting scenes between the two of those guys. Um, Morgan Freeman, he was also excellent in the movie. And how did you think of just the relationship of the three guys?
I mean, I thought that they were a pretty like excellent trio for a western. Like, you usually have like that duo of people like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Um, there's not really a whole lot of other ones that are popping out to me as of right now, but you got all of these like like Western character duos that I think are interesting. And this one, the trio of characters, and I thought that they all did awesome. They all had great performances. um, and I thought their characters together were like some of the highlight parts of the movie. Some of like the best
Okay.
dialogue of the movie, and yeah.
Yep. And really, one other person I wanted to bring up is the biographer, the guy who was writing the book on English Bob. What'd you think of that guy?
Honestly, I kind of forgot that he was in the movie after a little while. Um, but yeah, I thought he was an interesting guy for the little bit that he was in the movie. Um, yeah,
Okay. I thought it was interesting watching him flip flop, and I lied. There's actually somebody else I did want to bring up, and that was the lady who was the head of all the ladies um, in the movie, and that was she was Anne Levine Thompson. She played Delilah. Um, she was a feisty person. She was, even after getting smacked around and things like that, she was still just kind of coming back at whoever she thought was doing wrong. So I thought she was a really great character.
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay, let's see. We got a few more names that are out there, a few more things. Some about Unforgiven. Spicy says Unforgiven is a great choice. So thank you for that. And that is I'll take that as a fan of the movie. Mika, I haven't seen Unforgiven, but it's been on my watch list. I will recommend you watch it. We'll find out if my friend here agrees with that in just a bit. Caveman is here. What's going on, Caveman? He says, "Hey everyone, another great channel for you to check out." We got some more highs between Caveman and the chat. And then we have Caveman saying, "Ah, hey, Adrian and Hot Pepper doing well. Hope you're both doing great." All right. So, any parts of the movie that didn't quite work for you?
I mean, the whole movie itself is a little bit of a slow burn, so it kind of, it kind of didn't 100% work. The pacing wasn't like 100% there for me. There was a little bit like, like you said, there is some funny bits in the movie. I thought those were amusing, like in the parts that were kind of slow, but it wasn't really up until like the halfway point that it really started like piquing my interest. Even though the first act is relatively interesting, setting up characters. Like toward the middle though, kind of lost me. I'm not gonna lie, but it still set up some cool things for later on. So, yep.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
and I can see that, and it is definitely a slow burn. It's not in a hurry to get anywhere, and it really wants you to get absorbed in these characters. So it kind of takes its time with each of these people, in particular with Eastwood, and the relationship with those three guys, and then with Gene Hackman, how his character is. He's a bully, and then you kind of got to figure out if he's a good guy or a bad guy as far as the
Right.
movie goes.
Yeah.
So I did really enjoy that. Always enjoyed that about the movie. I'm gonna ask you though: is he a good guy or is he a bad guy?
I mean, honestly, I'd say he's a pretty bad guy. Like, even by the end of the movie, sure, he's had a little bit of a character arc, but they really hone in on the fact of all of the terrible things that he's done. And it's like, it's it's pretty it's pretty nasty, all the stuff that he's done. Like, even you said, like, he's killed kids. It's like, that's messed up, man. I don't know if he's a very good guy or not. He's just doing what he's told to do, though.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I mean, that's the
Okay,
other side of it. He's just doing what he's hired to do. That's how he
right,
makes his money.
right,
So, I mean, that's what a bounty hunter is. So,
right,
yeah.
right. And that's Eastwood. My question was actually about Hackman, but that's a great point on
Oh,
Eastwood.
Hackman,
What
Eastwood.
about
Yeah.
Hackman?
Oh, Hackman. Okay, so Hackman, uh, Little Bob, right? Or
Yes.
yeah, little. Okay, so, um, I think his uh mm, sorry. His mindset is a
It's a tough
little
question.
bit, yeah, it's his mindset is a little bit, you know, clouded. And by the end, his justice is delivered to him. Let's just say that. Um his mindset is, it's questionable for sure. Like, the way that he punishes people is a little bit unnecessary, but you know, definitely more mature, side of things, where it's like, is he or is he not good? And kind of the same thing going back to Clint Eastwood.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Great points on both characters. So that's why I let you go on Eastwood because
Oh,
you were making a great point, and that's no problem. KMS says Unforgiven can be unforgiving for younger audiences, but very glad that you checked it out. Okay. So you're getting some props there from the caveman. And Spicy agrees. He says spot on. All right, so let's go ahead and get to your overall thoughts on the movie. Basically, anything else that you wanted to touch on, you can talk about, or just how you felt about things overall and how much you liked or disliked the movie.
okay. Like I said, the pacing is a little bit all over the place, but it's still a very, very good western. It's considered a classic for a reason. This one, it was on my watch list for a good while, so I'm glad that it was on your list so I could finally check it out. Hang on one second.
All right. While he's doing that, guys, so thank you for everybody who's out there who decided to come out for a Saturday edition. I don't usually do these, and truth be told, I got in a little bit of trouble here at home because I'm not supposed to be doing these on Saturday. So wink, wink, nod, nod. Here I am. So yeah, thanks for anybody who did show up today, and I appreciate you guys a lot. We're getting close on to 400 subscribers, so once we get there, I'll have another live stream where we'll just kind of shoot the breeze and maybe do some giveaways and just a general Q&A. So looking forward to that, and hopefully you guys and even more can be there. So
Ugh.
just I'll let you know when that is, whenever that's going to happen. But like I said, it'll happen when, if and when I get up to 400 subscribers, and our guest is back. So I'll let him finish his thoughts on the movie.
Okay, so I don't remember where exactly I was at, but um, like I said, pacing is a little bit all over the place. It's got great performances. It's considered a classic. And I'd say rightfully so. So I'd say it's a win for sure, even though it's not one that I absolutely loved, like I know some people do. Just because of the slower pace, I feel like it's got good like moral ambiguity. And that's what I really appreciated about it, especially with the performances. Like the moral ambiguity is something that I think is very cool in movies with the writing, and this is just like a great case of it. So yeah, that's probably the my favorite part of the movie was that. So yeah,
I agree with the moral ambiguity being a big part of this movie, and I am also a fan of that in movies because everything is not always cut and dry. So
right.
I'm glad that you enjoyed the movie. Just going to take one more trip through, see if there are any other comments, and then we'll put this whole show to bed for the weekend. And Adrian, they're doing well. They're talking back and forth here. Mika says loving the series. Thank you, Mika. Really, really appreciate it. And Spicy. So don't expect any more Saturday shows. Yeah, probably not. I'm in special circumstances. My guess, he needed it to be on a Saturday, so I said let's do it. And yeah, I'm kind of grounded after this, so I won't be on Saturday anymore.
I get that. I get that for sure.
Came in as far as pacing goes, you may want to avoid most of the early 70s movies. A
I
lot of 70s
mean,
movies are paced slow. Depends on the movie, though.
yeah, for sure. I mean, from what I've seen, there's some movies for sure that have like slower pace than others, but those are ones I can definitely appreciate more as like being classic than others. So
Yeah. Yeah, Spicy's is a great stream. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, so now is the time of the show where I am going to turn it over to you. You can tell everybody where to find you, how
okay.
to follow you, and all those good things. So take it away, sir.
All right, so you guys can find me on YouTube, Movies and Train Studios. You guys can find me on Letterbox if you want to see like every last movie that I watch. It's on my Letterbox page, and then Instagram, I post on there quite a bit, and then Serialized and Music Board. They're just kind of like Letterboxed, but for music and TV shows. And then you can also find me on TikTok, even though I post pretty crappy content on there. But yeah, if you want to check it out, go ahead, feel free. So yep. And thanks for having
All
me
right.
on, Dell. It's a fun time.
Oh, absolutely. And on your YouTube channel, you got about 150 subscribers. Is that right?
I believe so that we just hit 150. I
Okay.
believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're not
like just the other
subscribed
night.
to, yeah, if you're not subscribed to Movies and Train Studios, go do that. He deserves more. Young guy putting in work here, and big movie fan and passionate about movies. You can see that in all his videos, and I really enjoy the rankings videos because I'm a rankings kind of guy. Also, sub to each other out there because, as always, how no matter how big or small the chat is for my streams, there's always great content creators there. So go ahead and check each other out as well. As for me, there will not be a movie swap during this upcoming week, but I will be on Bob's Blu-rays on Tuesday. We'll be doing a DVD tournament. He usually does steel books and slipcovers. He's done that a few times. He's done VHSs. So now he's turned his attention to DVD. So I'm going to be on Tuesday night, 8:30 Eastern, and showing off some DVDs and hoping I do better than I did in the steelbook competition, which I did better than I thought, but I want to actually win this time. So we'll see how it goes. I will be back. Movie Swap will be back the following week, which is the 12th. I will have Rich, otherwise known as Turner Fan 77. I'll have him on, and we're gonna have a couple of great movies. So be on the lookout for marketing for that. Not marketing, we're just gonna throw out some ads for it and say, hey, watch this. But yeah, we are gonna call it quits for the weekend. Again, thank you to my guests for coming on. Thank you to you
Yep.
guys in the chat. And that is it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Peace out.